Greetings and welcome once more to Dracovin Empire. Are you ready to dive back into the world of Athas, into the world of Dark Sun? The desert's called to us, dangers to be faced, and the city of Doom is where we shall head today. This is one of those times, I must say, stay close. The dragon is about. We will not take intruders lightly. Your host and guide here, Athas and Campaign, I can lead you through a gateway, through time, space, and the universe, to Athas once more, to the realm. You are ready to go there. Grab my hand. Please remember to give a bit of a tip here, like subscribing to the bell. Subscription being the best thing of those calls. Subscribe button, activate, and then let me know in the comments. What do you think of all this? The evolution of it between the various editions, what truly happens. Because there is a lot of battling knowledge, we'll talk about, between novels, various sources, between second editions, and fourth. Athas awaits again. Shall we travel? The deserts of the dying world, once more, call to us. And today is special. We are crossing the Sea of Silt, not from out of the Tyrvis to the Valley of Dust and Fire. The valley itself is not our goal today. Another video, perhaps, to discuss it. Ur Draxa is our hero. My main source, of course, is the book, Valley of Dust and Fire. It goes around all about the valley, Ur Draxa, and traveling between the various regions of that valley, and the creatures you may find, the dangers you may face. I'm going to be focusing the section all about Ur Draxa itself here, so keep in mind there is more to this region than just that. Also keep in mind, as a precipice to all things here, a little bit of a start here. We are going to be diving into Dark Sun, a realm that is very much a very dark storyline, and one that is very hard to tell stories. I find it interesting to talk about it because there are aspects of its lore which I find interesting, and can tell about darker stories in your own style. But keep all that in mind, so when you dive into this, bit of a content. And, it's one of those things is, some of this lore is a lot easier to adapt in modern days, and some of it's not. Also keep that in mind. Let's dive in and head to Ur Draxa. We'll start, of course, with one of the few images of Ur Draxa I could find, which shows the nice valley here, and the, of course, ring of fire surrounding Ur Draxa. It's Spellfire card. Yes, a Spellfire card, one of the few things I could find to talk about this year. It's true. What is Ur Draxa? What is this place? It's a fortress city of power, a place that's probably the heart of all evil in the Tyr region. Why is this? Because of its ruler, the dragon, aka the Sorcerer-King of Ur Draxa, aka the Dragon King, aka Boreos. Boreos, the de facto head of the Sorcerer-Kings, the beings that are the defilers, our head honcho defiler of them all. A creature with red glowing scales, heat of naked magma deposit, clouds beneath its wings, the butcher of dwarfs, Sorcerer-King of Ur Draxa, a true dragon in its form, ruling all over all of this. A city that is deeply steeped in its control of this place. A place of opulence, a place of pain, a place of death. The city of Doom itself, a fortress of incredible power. A place that if you should enter into, or want to enter into, you must first go beyond its 700-foot high, quarter-mile thick walls. You should try to cross over to these walls, you must cross the Ring of Fire, a lake of lava, virtually. To fly up it, perhaps go around the defenses, you must face the great ash storm which surrounds it. Both things which aren't natural. They're put here as magical defenses. That is what you need to even try to get into the City of Doom. Impenetrable walls. Though there are some gates, and there are wall tops. They're gone. Granted, they don't police the entire thing because, I don't know, the traveling there, horrible storm, the special defenses that are magically there to prevent ethereal or astral travel or dimension walking to get through there. The fact that it is a quarter-mile thick to prevent basically anybody from casting any spells that could pass through the wall, conceivably, without a lot of time. That would be very noticeable. Yeah. It's pretty bad. Pretty sucks. Talk the history of the city. Now, I'll talk about this image of the city a little later, but I wanted to use this one here because I still want to show this one off here. That shows the technical 9 regions of the city. We'll talk about it. We have to talk about how this city came to be. And it comes down to thousands of years ago. This was a society that was enlightened and noble, and they were associated with the dragon. The cleverest and strongest that were basically under the dragon. The most advanced, the most civilized. And beneath these Draxans, in the fields of labor, in their doom, were their slaves. Basically, every Draxan alive traces their lineage, every actual citizen, to these first citizens of the city, the great heroes in the dragon's armies. There have occasionally that clans have been wiped out, and lesser clans basically permit the higher bloodlines of these hero bloodlines, but it basically happens with the politics of Draxan. But basically, the great heroes that serve the dragon's armies, their descendants are who lives here. It is the soul-shining light of culture left behind in a brutal, unforgiving world. In their eyes. The only creatures that exist to serve the citizens of this city, the City of Doom, City of the Dragon, the mighty Ur Draxa. So everything else out beyond the wall, you only exist to serve us, culture. So no one there would suspect there's any other cities. This is the perfect society. And the people that are here constantly pushing forth their military and scholarly skills. Basically, yeah, they're free to do that. But most are illiterate and bloodthirsty slave owners. And slaves are just there being mistreated. Horrible. The arena of a noble struggle, where there's bloody killings of crowds screaming for bloodlust. All sides basically being driven by the trial of arms. To figure out things. Skilled fighters, though, have sometimes accidents before they enter arenas. Keep that in mind. Accidents occur. So superiority is what they're here. They're the heroes of the ancient day, and they have been since their beginning. Though to trace it back, we will have to talk about the leader's history to figure out where this all came from. Because that's truly the history of the founding of the city, is Boreas, the dragon system. Now, there are some Draxans that don't fit this stereotype. The clan leaders, the viziers, some of the Templars, and of course, the slaves. There are records that hit the city and its true greatness. But they also understand that the violent society where true knowledge is scored in the face of martial prowess, yeah. Might makes right in Draxan society, in the city. There it is. In his 4th edition version, this is how he appears in 4th edition, the Dragon of Tyr. The Dragon, as he's sometimes called. As I said, with all of the other titles, Butcher of Dwarfs, the Sorcerer-King of Ur Draxa, Boreas. Boreas is Ur Draxa. So, I'm not going to get full adepts probably in Boreas here, because I feel like he deserves maybe a video on his own, but we'll go over some basics here that tell you how he found Ur Draxa. Boreas was one of the original students of Rajat, the first sorcerer, along with 14 other students. That's where they learned filing magic and became the champions. The champions basically had committing genocide to all other non-human races. That was one of those things. That's why Boreas was known as the Butcher of Dwarfs. Because that was his job. Cleansing them. He was unsuccessful. But remember, they were all assigned something to cleanse from the world. Yeah. Champions did that. Thinking, human superiority. They're very awful people. They are the worst. Boreos, though, learned. Rajat wanted to get rid of everyone. So, how's a problem? Because Rajat, get rid of everyone. Boreos, human supremacy. Champions managed to rise up and imprison Rajat. The champions settled the Tyr region, claimed a city-state, and began transforming into dragons. Boreos basically did. But he demanded power to guard Rajat's prison. He was the one in charge of keeping him there. And so he enlisted the others to help this. He required sacrifice, life energy, of every citizen of Ebed. He turned the island city into a hellish wasteland. He became a dragon. He rechristened its former city, Ur Draxa, the city of Doom. So we'll have to talk about the city before Ebed at some point. But again, it's one of those things that we don't have a lot of information. Anyway, so now he runs Ur Draxa at the center of the Valley of Dust and Fire and the Sea of Soot, with his servants, the Dreadlords, a group of liches that serve him, his slaves, his undead minions, and his people. And when the dragon shows up to collect a levy of sacrifices, the Sorcerer-King reclaims the lives of hundreds of slaves and devours them, or brings them to Ur Draxa to use an experiment or gift for the liches it serves. Can't have those new people talking about what's going on in the outside world. I've already got plenty of my own there. But I got some experiments to do. My liches have some experiments to do. Or they're just delicious for that delicious, delicious life force to keep me going in my horrible dragon transformation. Ooh. You think of everything wrong or awful about Sorcerer-Kings. Boreos is right there. The embodiment of it all. Was Rajat any better? Heck no. But all really bad. And the thing is, with Boreos, there are novels that tell about kind of things that are going on with this. With things that are trying to Rajat's prison, problems with that. There's an entire storyline of a novel which talks about the possible defeat and death of Boreos. What does that do? This is an unfortunate part about the storyline. The 4th edition kind of glazes over all of it and keeps it very open-ended, giving you the chance with stats to face this thing. Level 33 in 4th edition. So basically like fighting Orcus, which is the boss of one of the adventure maps. The long adventures in 4th edition. Basically like that. But theoretically, he died in the Cerulean Storm book. Theoretically. Whether he did or not. And there's a whole lot of this entire storyline and stuff like this. But there are novels out there that deal with this kind of stuff. And possible deaths. So, if you want to get some extra stories about this, you have to kind of turn to novels. None of these source material dives into it. We just have the source material talking about the possibilities defeating it, and it would have a massive effect on the region. Hey, there's already been massive effects. One of the Sorcerer-Kings was defeated. You don't see this guy standing up for it. So what the heck's going on? What the heck's going on with Tyr? What the heck's going on with Ur Draxa? In 4E, and the timeline there. There's a lot of questions. Never answered. Never answered. But now you kind of understand the situation we're in. Ur Draxa. Ur Draxa. Let's head back to the city and talk about the people that we've kind of talked about them a little bit, but we can kind of dive into society a little bit more. So competition and strife are very important parts of their lives. You try to improve yourself at the expense of your neighbors. It's been instilled for generations and generations. Art, science, and forms of enlightenment are all under military prowess. Those are the main virtues, military, in Draxa society. And you will only find elves, half-elves, dwarfs, and moles in Ur Draxa. All the other species, gone. And of course, humans are still first. They speak an archaic language called Ur Draxa, which only they are to speak. If a slave speaks it, put to death. They're allowed to speak Low Draxan or their own tongue, the slave tongue is called. The top of the hierarchy, of course, is the dragon. His word is law. Every whim and edict. In more recent years, as of 2nd edition, he had been taking a step back, but he had been much more involved in the day-to-day in the old times. Basically, by the time we get to 2nd edition, and certainly 4th edition, the dragons is there, but just not in day-to-day. Basically, will show up, do some stuff, and go. And spend most of the time in the world beyond the Ash Storm, or within its inner sanctum. Of course, then, that leaves the Dreadlords, his powerful liches as his cabinet ministers, to run things. Each of them is a powerful Vizier, Templar, warrior, reward for quality and efficiency with undead. The Kai Sharga. Some of them even defeat of replacing the dragon. But all of them together could not defeat. So keep that in mind. They're Lord Warrior, Lord Vizier, Lord Templar, Chamberlain, Herald, the Lord Scribe, Lord Guardian, Lord Assassin, and 17 others that are currently, as of again, 2nd edition, there. And it's under these that we have the 3 other main branches that rule the city. The Templars, the Army, and Viziers. The Templars are Templars. Mixture of alive and undead. So there are them. The 4th edition implies that all of them are undead to the Templars, but they function as Templars in the other city. Again, 2nd edition implies there's more mixture, but it could have just changed to that, some problems with the outside world, just make all the Templars undead and call it a day. It's a lot easier to control them then. They're schooled in doctrine and martial philosophy. They basically ensure the city maintains martial spirit. The Army. Every free citizen is technically a member of the Army. But there's only a powerful cadre of influential officers that lead the factions. So the full Army kind of can come into being, but again, they've never had a threat. So powerful clans can be entire regiments and kind of things like that, that there's this entire thing. Because there's these clans. Remember I talked about the clans? They're based upon the hero bloodlines. So each clan could be their own regiment in the right, and that's kind of how you form. And there are about 50 clan companies. So usually about 1,000 warriors could be brought about per clan, from a few dozen to 1,000. So if you would say it would be the maximum of 50,000, but again, some clans are bigger than others, and that's kind of how it works. The Viziers are kind of what's in the middle. They're scientists, defilers, and scholars. They are a council body, and you run the Draxan University. They preserve a little bit of art and lore remains of Draxan culture. They're kind of out there to the side. Basically, they keep what they think is interesting. Templars suppress everything that they don't approve of. They are knowledgeable, open-minded of all Draxans, but they're also competitive and power-hungry. This is a different way. And our Kaishigara often draw from this group because, hey, they're most likely to easily move into lichdom. So they're power brokers, masters of lost knowledge. They are technically some of the real power behind the city of Ur Draxa, but they wouldn't let, the meat muscle heads over there know about it. Let them have their fights. And then, of course, the clans, which are where we kind of break down. And, yeah. The degenerate and brutal society of Ur Draxa, a place with very little art or skill, the martial virtue is power, and justice is put down by their code under the Templars. Obey the Dragon Lord, the Dead Lords, and leave the clan. Do not arm a slave, nor allow a slave to leave in any ways equal to a Draxan. Redress wrongs in the arena. Do not feud. Do not betray Ur Draxa to an outsider. Do not practice elemental, i.e. clerical magic. Do not hinder the Templars. Violators of the code must be punished, and never dishonor clan, cardin, or thief. And you either will be a slave, exiled, or killed if you failed it. I'm not going to guess the exiled's very good because there's an entire giant wall, storm, lava field, and island before you even get to the Sea of Silk to possibly cross that and get out of that area. So if you're exiled, you're as good as dead. Maybe you can go live by the fire. It's a nice place to live. Your lesser thinks it's, well, you can live by the fire. Good luck. You'll be fine. Talk about the city. To finish up, just give a little bit of information. So, there are 9 gates that lead into the city through the wall. That's where you can enter. The interior of each archway is sealed with blank stone, and the stone in the archway can phase into nothingness, creating a tunnel. Each is psionically empowered device similar to a Gate of Doom. They remember the list of persons authorized to command them. A person unknown to the gate must contact and overcome in psionic combat to force it open. Then, basically, no one really on Athens can easily do this. Each gate is garrisoned by a chain company of 50 guards. And a little fortress on the inside. That's what you have to get through. That's an easy way through. Once you're within the city, well, it's cool, pleasant, around 80 to 85 degrees. Different than the hellish area of fire outside there. It's also positioned in 9 equal sectors, by walls much like the outer walls, but only about 480 feet high. The second circular wall in the center is where you have, identical to the outer wall, 720 feet high, enclosed in the center of the city, the Dragon Sanctum. Partitioning walls run from the outer circle to the inner circle, showing the two in a seamless interaction. Go see that picture I had earlier. Yeah. Partitioning walls are covered with lush forest, inhabited by birds and small insects. Creeper trails hundreds of feet or more deep into the sheer sides of the wall, hiding the wall top with luxuriant green vegetation. Forest strips add extra hunting space for Draxans who keep them clear of dangerous creatures. The wall tops are not garrisoned or patrolled, these ones here, but stairs lead from the outer wall top to each of the garden walls, and from the garden wall tops to the floor of the city. 5 great circular boulevards ring the city, running parallel to the outer and inner walls, partitioning through the great city. Each of the 9 sectors contains towns, fields, lakes, forests, all manners of terrains. The townlands are generally cultivated for the massive slave armies, forest hunting grounds for the Draxans. Some are actually regions that are completely depopulated and have fallen to ruins. The city is actually more best described as a collection of towns and villages encircled by a common wall. There is no major city in Ur Draxa. It's one of those kind of lies about it. But these are really generally nice places to live if you're into a violent, deadly society that believes right makes might. Except if you're one of the secretive scientists that rule over them. Or if you're, then you're in good shape. But otherwise, okay, so like they live in a really nice place, but that's about it. Thanks, Kurt. The inner wall of the city is 13 sealed gates identical to the outer gates, with weird eldritch lights in them. So it's really even harder to get into the center. And the innermost area of the dragon, only the oldest and most trusted of even the Kaishigara, his liches, ever enter there. And it is fatal to everyone else. You get in there, you dead. Sorry, you're going to be murdered by the giant, deadly super dragon that, rules over all of this. Good luck. So yeah, it's, you don't really get intruders. Now, it isn't to say that there aren't people captured, but they all end up in games of politics. Breaches of security are hidden, and, yeah, can then be used in certain ways. Now, it is also to say, the fact is, sometimes, are possibilities of visiting you. Here's the thing. If you're coming in through a main door, through everything that's in the way, you're probably going to be assumed to be pretty powerful. You might be able to convince that guy. You're here to visit the dragon or a dreadlord. You're going to be escorted by heavy guard. You're not really going to give free rein of it. But, say, you could convince your way in, if you can get there. It's Sea of Silt, horrible island, lake of fire, horrible storm, all these things in the way. Yeah. Get in there. If you could get there, you could probably convince them rather than just breaking in. You'd be like, hey guys, we're supposed to be here. We're meeting so-and-so. Granted, you probably don't meet the dragon. But just... Yeah. There's the basics of Ur Draxa. I would recommend for a little bit more details, check out the book, The Valley of Dust and Fire. It's a great place for a little bit more information on places within it, the smaller villages and things like that you could visit. I didn't want to go to the full depths of it, because it is almost, as I said, a lot of little towns and villages that are connected with here. And I've been trying to keep to a lot of the bigger picture stuff when it comes to Dark Sun. But it's an interesting location. It's a place that no one enters, no one goes to, that probably no one in the Tier region really knows about. Maybe they do. Maybe there's legends of a island deep within the Sea of Silt, soiled off by this horrible dragon monster that comes for sacrifice occasionally. Yeah. Where'd it come from? Oh, it came from over there. The Dragon of Tyr is probably one of the embodiments of evil in all of Athas. Truly. Athas could not be cleaned and healed until it is gone. Even if it's gone, would that spell the major changes? Second edition wants to look at it, seeing that as a major changing point in the way things work for Dark Sun, or Athas. But honestly speaking, it's one of those things is you can analyze in multiple ways. There were, as of 4th edition, major changes brewing in the distance. So perhaps some of these changes could mean there isn't as much need for this. And the fact is, again, we do know a little bit about the dragon sanctum. I didn't get into it today, because maybe I want to speak about the dragon a little bit more on his own, and I can talk about his sanctum there. But we do know about fighting him, and what would happen if we win. How could pieces... They talk about it in 2nd edition. They present stats in 4th edition. It could any change spell what is needed for the change to begin in Athas. It's why some of those books may explore them. The change that may have come into or been wanted to be planned in the story, in the stories that are told here. The fact is, I always see Dark Sun as a place of very powerful messages and very politicized messages in many ways. It's an environmental message. It's a message of, not being hateful to others in ways. That the villains are very obvious villains for the things they do, for the way they treat people, for the way they treat the environment, and the world. Athas is a world where the environment was ignored. And the fact is, the dragon and Ur Draxa specifies a land of lava and death, surrounded by a little green thing that the dragon created for his little pets. He is... And he keeps the prison. Something that's probably, in ways, worse than him. Sealed away. The first to fight. We'll have to talk about him at some point. Awesome. I do hope you enjoyed diving into this and learning all about Ur Draxa. That'll be it for today. Make sure to check out the rest of my stuff, whether it's live on Twitch or over on YouTube. On Twitch, I do tabletop streams, I do gaming, I do a lot of other different things. If you want to check out certain things, live play Pathfinder 2nd Edition, Wednesdays at 8, let's fall out as well, and Discussing Tabletop Saturday at 6. My kind of podcasting news thing where we talk about news of the week, and discussion. You can also toss me any of my stuff, tabletop related or otherwise, over on the Twitch side. If you want to see my Twitch tabletop stuff, just my tabletop stuff, YouTube side's fine. All my tabletop stuff that I do live on Twitch ends up on YouTube and more, so that's a great place to check it out. If you are on the YouTube, do the algorithm stuff. Please make sure you're subscribed first, and of course, clicking the bell for the video, and letting me know what you think of Ur Draxa. A little bit of the dragon. Again, as I said, we will visit the dragon again in the future. Just like I will probably have to do a video on the Jock at some point, as a major character here. And the fact of dragons of Tyr are important to speak about. Hey, they're trying to become dragons. What does it mean for dragons and the Sorcerer-Kings as a whole? Champions, all these things. These are bits of history that I should talk about. But for now, I hope you enjoyed. Check out my social media. And until next time, I bid all of you up there adieu and wonderful. Farewell.